Let's stay on the issue of health and then the nurses' strike, which has hit parts of the country. We are told the group that declared a strike first when it comes to issues of health were the psychiatric nurses. Now, we are told that the Accra Psychiatric Hospital has increased fees for some services it renders to patients. The new fees take effect from today, Wednesday, October 7, 2015. New patients will now have to pay 40 cedis for full days at the hospital. Previously, the fee charged for full days was just 25 cedis. New patients will also be charged 30 cedis for consultation, an amount which previously was 10 cedis. New patients will also be charged 30 cedis for consultation. The amount previously was 10. Okay, now the hospital says it has run out of funds and needs to increase its charges for the patients to keep the hospital running. A notice pasted at the facility said that the amount would be used to supplement funds yet to be received from the central government for the treatment of patients at the hospital. And to speak to us on this, also to find out reasons behind this and whether it is a justified call by the psychiatric authorities, we've been joined by Humphrey Kofi. He's the Executive Director for Mental Health Society in Ghana. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, to start with, can you help us understand what went into the figures and the percentages you've given to the various sections?
Yeah, thank you very much. Basically, the Accra Psychiatric Hospital has been undergoing certain challenges when it comes to finance. You recall in the past how they have threatened to even release patients from the hospital because they don't have funds to run. They have run their system on credit basis where their creditors come after them. So the issue is to do with funds, and government either is delaying or has not provided enough funds for them to take care of the patients, because the mental health policy in Ghana currently says that mental health services is free. That is the policy. If you come to the legal basis, if you look at Section 88 of Act 846, if you look at Section 1, subsection 1, it says that mental health services shall be free. So it has a basis for saying that it's free, but it cannot be free because the component of government support, which is the funds, are not coming. The little that come is so woefully inadequate that it cannot even take care of the patients. So the hospital is contending with the situation in a way that it has to be proactive. That if you have to pay for some few money so that they can take care of the Dettol that will be used to clean the wards, some few things that will have to, some consumables that the hospital require. The hospital cannot sit down and say that government's money is not coming, so let's all sit down.
There are those who say that the fees are a little on the high side, considering the fact that you're paying maybe 10 cedis and now you have to pay 30 cedis. That is about 200% increase.
That is true. We have already established that the fact that they are even charging fees there is illegal. I'm sure that if anybody wants to test this law, the person is likely to succeed because the law is clear that mental health services shall be free. So why the charges? Where are the charges coming from? What are they supposed to be doing? But genuinely they have a reason, because they cannot stay on till there is an epidemic because government is not bringing the funds. I think also that the fees that are being charged is quite on the high side. I think that they need to look at it holistically and see what can be done about it. Even if we are saying that the thing is not supposed to be free, government is not coming forth with what contribution. If you also want to do any increment in terms of the cost, you also have to look at the conditions, the economy, and how people are even able to manage the situation. Because if you turn people away because they cannot pay, where are those people supposed to go to? Remember, the policy is saying it's free. He has come to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. You have turned him away. You said there is no money or he cannot pay for it. So these things compound the societal situation.
How else, apart from charging patients who come there, which other means can the hospital generate funds?
Well, the other bit is to look at how we can take away this issue of mental health services being free and put all those people suffering under mental health, undergoing mental health challenges under the National Health Insurance Scheme. Because currently, as we speak, Section 88, subsection 2 of the Act says that people suffering from mental health conditions and physical conditions could have some respite from the National Health Insurance. So if you are not suffering from a physical condition, you are not part of this category. But it should be such that anybody suffering from mental health condition should be able to access the National Health Insurance support, Yeah.
Let me bring in Dr. Richard Anane. He is a former Minister of Health and a ranking member on Parliament's Committee on Health. He's joined us to, share his thoughts on this. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon. I just want to caution. I am on the road, and the lines may cut off when I get to the point where I may not be reachable. But let's go on.
Sure. I will just make it very brief. What is your thought on the fact that now clearly we are not supposed to be charging for mental health, but the Accra Psychiatric Hospital has started charging patients who come in effective today?
Yes. You realize that the premise of your question was we are not supposed to be charging. And then if you refer to the mental health law, which have been passed,
right,
we're making every effort to make sure that we create a mental health fund. And it is believed that if we are able to do that, we should be able to manage the mental health of our people through this fund. And I would want to know a little more from the mental health authority, especially at Accra Psychiatric Hospital, where I believe Dr. Akesio himself is, to find out why he had to go into increase. But I do not think that it's going to be a long-lasting matter. It should be looked at, and I believe that when we have a look at it, things will be rectified.
But would you agree with those who say that this has become a necessary evil because clearly the Accra Psychiatric Hospital and the other psychiatric hospitals have been running on debt and need funding to operate?
I would not call it a necessary evil. I think that it is something that we as a nation have not been able to have a handle on. And the stigmas have always been on the wall when the mental health authorities keep on talking about the need for the government to take a deeper look and to ensure that they are able to maintain the system. It's not just about the mental health. There are categories of conditions, and then there's also the question of patients on the wards and the need for them to be catered for. There are so many other things. And you also agree with me that because of the stigma attached to mental health, usually a lot of the people tend to be abandoned by relatives. So it becomes a bit difficult to maintain them. And that's what I think in an attempt to maybe rake in some few cities to be able to continue managing the entire mental health system, especially with respect to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. That's what I believe has pushed Dr. Akesio and his colleagues in Accra at Accra Mental Health to do what has happened. But I believe this can be managed. I believe we can stop it and get it out of the way. And I believe this can also be, maybe sustainably be managed if we are able to, as I said earlier, set up the mental health fund, which is supposed to ensure that at least we get enough funds to manage our mental health.
And that will be my last question to you, which has to dovetail into the fact that we need to set up a mental health fund.
Under the law has already been passed. The mental health authority, the council has also been set up, and so we believe that things should now be set in motion, and this fund should be set up. And I have every belief that if it is permitted and if it's facilitated, definitely we should be able to get some funds in it, and it will help in a long way to assuage some of the problems that the mental health system is.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Richard Anane. He's the ranking member He's a ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee and a former member of Parliament as well, was speaking to us about Parliament's position on the new charges or his position on the new charges that has been named or announced by the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. But let's come back in studio and wrap up this conversation. We're speaking with the Executive Director of the Mental Health Society in Ghana, Humphrey Kofi. In conclusion, what would you say are the necessary steps we can take to ensure that the Mental Health Fund is established within time to help salvage the situation?
Yes, thank you very much. Section 80 of the Mental Health Act, Act 846, is clear that there should be a mental health fund. Currently, as we speak, it's only the Mental Health Authority is working with some funds from DFID. Government has not shown any commitment in terms of making sure that some monies are committed to establish the fund. Now, what it means, therefore, is that those who are being turned away from the Accra Psychiatric Hospital currently, once they don't have the money to buy the medicines or they can't do the necessary consultation with the hospital, they go without being treated. Now, they become a threat to themselves, they become a threat to society, and it's the same thing that you realize that people with mental disorders, for example, the Charles Entry case, this is a clear case, somebody suffering from some mental disorders went that far. There are so many people who are not naked, who are not vagrants, but are suffering from mental health conditions. And if you ask me to look for these people, I'd rather go to the offices and go to the taxi ranks and the torture stations. These are people who are suffering from some mental disorders. They are either not aware or they are not able to access any medication or treatment. So we need to be very careful. These people who are being turned away are rather going to be a threat to us, and government should show commitment. I haven't seen any. I'm yet to see what will happen in the 2015-16 budget of the Ministry of Health, whether they have some money to commit into the fund. Government has to demonstrate more than what it is doing. Yeah. It doesn't lie in the interest of the donor partners to show the way. Always. When you have sat through to establish a law that is supposed to overhaul mental health services into the community, and you are not showing that commitment. I mean, it's unbearable.
All right. Thank you very much. Humphrey Kofi is the Executive Director for the Mental Health Society in Ghana and was helping us understand what has been the problem over the years, and also is helping us put into perspective the fact that government needs more commitment when it comes to helping the mental health fund that has been established come to fruition. Thank you very much for joining us once again. But our colleague Sarah Paku has joined us on the line. She is currently at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital to gauge the mood there following the new prices that was announced by the hospital authorities. Sarah, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. What can you tell us is the situation at the hospital now?
Martin, thank you for the opportunity. But currently, we are told today is not one of the busy days at the hospital, but a few patients who are here at the moment are complaining that they were not prepared for the new prices. Some had to be turned away, some had to pay because they need the service. For new cases, they'll be paying 40 cedis, and old patients will be paying 25 Ghana cedi. For consultation, new patients will be paying 30 cedis against 10 cedis for old patients. And then when it comes to admission, if you are bringing your a relative for admission for VIP, you have to pay 600 Ghana cedis, and non-VIP is 300 Ghana cedi. The situation here is much calmer because there are no many people around to have their services attended to them. But we spoke to Dr. Papo, who is the Deputy Director for Nursing Services at the hospital, and he told us the hospital cannot afford to close down, so they had to charge the fares so that they wouldn't have uninterrupted service care to the clients here.
Right. And have you spotted any of the nurses there helping the patients?
We have a few of their spokespersons here. We spoke to February Emmanuel, one of their spokespersons, and he claims they are not returning to the wards because their monies have not reflected into their accounts. So news hits in the airwaves about them being paid. They are yet to find out from administration what is really happening because as at now, as I speak, monies have still not hit their accounts.
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah Paku, TV3's reporter there at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital.